here. I'm Sally with Mesa Chamber. I'm going to turn it over to Glenn, and I don't see Sherry on the call yet, but Glenn is one of our chairs of this committee. So Glenn, it's all yours.
Well, good morning, everybody. And as we discussed last month, we wanted to continue on having some speakers come and talk to us about issues around COVID and healthcare and good work-life balance and different things. So we got some suggestions that came in. So we'll be setting a future agenda for that. And then obviously continue on with our goals as we move forward. But really the focus for today is just sit and listening today. And I think it's a topic that we all wish we could master is getting good sleep. But we have a great speaker today, and Laura Ledley, who's going to talk to us about the physiology behind sleeping. She's got more than 30 years experience in this topic and has been in healthcare for quite some time. So really looking forward to learning more about Lori and about sleep. And without further ado, let's turn it over, and good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for the introduction. Thanks for inviting me, Tracy. Honestly, I just want to make this super informal because I know a lot of people probably have questions, and to do like slides and all that, it gets a little boring. So hopefully we can just make it as informal as possible. So my background actually started as a respiratory therapist. I had a lot of problems myself as a child, in and out of the hospital. I had a lot of pneumonias, and by the time I was 8 years old, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. By the time I was 26, I had lymphoma, which is a really aggressive form of cancer. While I was pregnant, I took chemo, I was pregnant. I have a 28-year-old son that's a total miracle. I had no hair on my head. He had a full head of hair. So through all those experiences, I was just fascinated with the physiology of sleep and breathing at night and what I was seeing as a respiratory therapist. And my husband and I started a company testing patients at home with just oximetry, which is, everybody knows what an O2 sat is now. 2 years ago, no one knew what that was. Now everyone knows what it is. So oxygen saturation oximetry is just one channel of a sleep study. When you wear it overnight, we would see these people get up and down sawtooth waves. And I was like, this is sleep apnea. And we were getting these tests to get people oxygen, right? Your insurance won't give you oxygen unless you qualify. So we started this little company, driving all around the valley, testing people's oxygen levels. And so I started to see this, sawtooth wave on the overnight studies. And so I started to tell the physicians, hey, these people have sleep apnea. You can't oxygenate a collapsed airway. You should probably send them into the hospital for a sleep study. And back then we only did sleep studies in the hospital. And I was just so interested in learning more about this that after I survived 5 years of the lymphoma, because they said if you go 5 years, then you're, considered cured. So I made it those 5 years, and then we opened our first 2 beds Valley Sleep Center in Mesa on University. My landlord was Dr. Phelps. I don't know if you guys remember him, Mountain View Medicine, but so we started doing sleep studies ourselves. And since then, I graduated from being a sleep technologist, respiratory therapist to a business owner. And now we have almost 7 locations, 130 employees, and a group of 12 providers. And I've since been certified as a clinical sleep educator. So I spend a lot of my time, other than, business strategy, just trying to bring awareness to the public about sleep and health. And since the pandemic, honestly, it's been really hard to convince people how important sleep is. And it's been a blessing in disguise, like the silver lining that finally, because of a pandemic, people will take this seriously. They will take it seriously. They're, okay, I don't sleep enough. Oh, I have sleep apnea. I better get it treated. All those things. In fact, my own self. Okay. So my dad had terrible sleep apnea. Like we used to joke that he snored like a herd of elephants. And we could hear him like from the second floor outside, down the stair, through the windows, through the walls. And by the time I was 30, after I learned everything I learned, I was like, I think I have this. And I did. And then I struggled with wearing the CPAP. I wore an oral appliance for a while, which is a dental device. Was successful at that, but as time goes on, my airway became more and more collapsed. And then in 2015, I got breast cancer. So now I'm on my second cancer. And I'm like, I have got to take this seriously. I have to wear the CPAP. I don't want to die. I want to be here. And I knew that, me not treating my sleep apnea was just ticking time away off of my life, on top of all the other complications that come along with all the chemo I've had. I need my cardiovascular system and my body to be as healthy as possible. So I had been watching a technology called Inspire. It's an upper airway stimulator, and it's a small outpatient surgery. And after working with people trying to get my CPAP, and I mean, I have the best people to do this. I just could not wear it. I got Inspire, which is an upper airway stimulator that kind of, it's a surgery, and it comes with a remote. And I just turn it on at night, and it stimulates the back of my airway and opens it up. And then I turn it off when I get up to go to the bathroom. And then I turn it off when I wake up in the morning. So this has been a lifesaver. But I also struggled with insomnia, with, the breast cancer diagnosis, and even getting used to my Inspire. And did you guys know insomnia is just the inability to escape your own thoughts? Like, that's the medical definition of insomnia, is the inability to escape your thoughts. And so I also did some training, some yoga training, because I love to do yoga. And through that yoga training, I learned about something called yoga nidra, which is yoga for sleep. So I did some training on meditation, and yoga nidra is a lot of breath work and muscle tension relaxation and imagery. And being a respiratory therapist, I kind of knew these breathing techniques, but you learn them in school as a therapist. But I was 18 when I went to school, but then here I was as a 53-year-old adult going, oh wow, this is like, it really works. Like, the power of the breath. Like, it's the first thing we do when we come into the world, and it's the last thing we do when we leave the world. And again, COVID, what does it do? It attacks the lungs. The lungs are the most important part of our body, and they get the best restoration when we're sleeping. Blood pressure, anybody that has hypertension should really consider doing some sort of, home sleep test, or come into the lab and have a study. 85% of people with hypertension, atrial fibrillation, that's a cardiac, they have sleep apnea. And a lot of times they don't know it, or it's untreated. And when you treat your sleep apnea, so in a healthy sleeper, we have this architecture of sleep, right? We have REM and non-REM sleep. And non-REM has stages like 1, 2, 3, and 4. We don't really see a lot of stage 4 in adults. That's more kids. 3 and 4. As we get older, we lose that deeper, what's called delta sleep. But the deeper, is REM, where we have no muscle. REM is where we dream. You can dream in all states, but REM is where we mostly dream. And so your blood pressure and your whole body is restored during that healthy architecture of sleep. So your blood pressure will go down 30% in a healthy sleeper. But if you're snoring, or you have limb movements, or you have a dog in your bed, cat, animal, kid, bed partner snoring, all those things are interrupting that sleep architecture. You may not consciously wake up, but if we looked at your EEG, you would see a lot of interruptions. And so that doesn't allow that blood pressure to drop, that 30%. And then what happens is we get hypertension during the day. So it's like plugging in your cell phone at night. Have you ever plugged it in and it didn't plug in all the way, and you're like, oh great, this isn't going to get me till noon, because your battery, that's what that sleep is, that plugging in overnight and charging our body so that it can function optimally all day without caffeinated beverages, sugar, carbs, because when you don't get the right amount of sleep and your metabolism doesn't restore, you crave those things. And then it becomes this vicious cycle. And then you get weight gain because the hormones aren't properly exchanged and rebalanced at night. What else? There's so many like little details to all this. Tips, you guys want maybe some sleep tips, and then I can start answering questions about any sleep disorder symptoms. I'll be happy. Okay, sleep tips. Stressful times. We are all in a big stressful time. It's almost a year now. Our cortisol levels are off the charts. Okay. Cortisol is the hormone that rises as soon as our feet hit the floor in the morning and our eyes see light. Our cortisol goes up. It's also our like flight or fright. Like if you get scared or if you get stressed, our cortisol levels will spike, right? And you're burning a lot of energy. You're using up a lot of your body's energy whenever your cortisol levels are high. I always tell people, if you like coffee or tea, or you have a caffeinated Diet Coke, if you have a caffeinated beverage, don't do it first thing in the morning. Wait till like mid-morning, because your cortisol, you're already going to be high. So save it for when it might start to drop off a little bit so that you can kind of get that little pick me up. So that's a really interesting. So that way you're not having it first thing in the morning and then you're having a crash and then you're having another one and another one, because too much caffeine will interrupt the melatonin, and the melatonin is what needs to come in the evening, right? So as soon as it starts to get dark, our melatonin levels rise. So this is why we say have a power down hour, turn off all electronics, spend an hour just relaxing, in the dim light, writing down your thoughts throughout the day, maybe writing down all your anxieties, and then end that with gratitude. Write down 3 to 5 things that you're grateful for, so that that's the last thing on your mind. Take a hot bath or a shower, because even though the heat of the hot water and the shower rise your body temperature, when you step out of the shower or the bath, your body temperature drops, which increases melatonin. Okay. And then we're hearing a lot about melatonin supplements too in the news. Melatonin is an anti-inflammatory. It's also a prophylactic against the virus. So COVID does not like melatonin. So take a couple melatonins, like 6 milligrams. Mine come in 3 milligram capsules. I take 2, about an hour, that power down hour. I'll take 2 because it does take a little bit of time to get in your body. But some people are like, I don't even tell, it doesn't do anything for me. Well, if it's an anti-inflammatory and a prophylactic against the virus, why not take it? It can't hurt you for sure. And you may find over time that you are getting deeper sleep, because melatonin in our bodies naturally will create on its own anyway. Power down hour. Oh, magnesium, Epsom salt. Magnesium as a supplement, taking it is a really great supplement for sleep. GABA is a great supplement for sleep. And I love to put like 2 cups of Epsom salt in a bath. Really great for muscle. If you do get COVID, the magnesium baths will help you a ton, because the COVID attacks the central nervous system and the muscles. And I had it in December, and my body aches were relieved by soaking in that Epsom salt. It really, really helped me. And it helps you sleep. If you have neuropathy, I do. Tracy probably does, from all of our chemo and breast cancer crap we had to go through. Really great for nerve pain, soaking in that magnesium Epsom salt bath. Essential oils are great. People love those. I myself, I'm allergic to that. I don't know. I've tried them all, but my skin breaks out. I get eczema. But so be careful. You can inhale them, but don't touch your skin if you're sensitive. Be careful of what you eat at night, right? Like chocolate is caffeine, you know. Don't have chocolate ice cream because you're going to have caffeine in your system. Have a healthy diet. Let's go back to morning, right? So make sure that you're going to bed at the same time and you're waking up at the same time every single day, even on the weekend. This helps like create our circadian rhythm. Have a healthy diet. We have a program called Sleep to Slender now that is a intermittent fasting. So we have an eating window, and we're finding that people who have an eating window do really, really well. So so we might suggest like you drink water. You can have black coffee, black tea until noon, and then from noon to 8 or noon to 6. Noon to 6 is hard. I would suggest starting out with noon to 8 if you're trying to lose some pounds, and stick to that. So spend your morning, or maybe noon's a little bit too late. You can adjust it 10, to 6, but have that eating window, and don't, have anything with, sugar, anything that would affect your insulin level after those times. Eat healthy, right? In those 8 hours, eat as healthy as possible. We're not like eat 12 donuts and have cake for dessert, but just don't be, it's not like you have to be so strict about a diet, right? Like if you do that eating window, it'll really help your body regulate, eat what you want, and then be done outside of those hours. Lots of water. Amazon, I don't have mine here yet, but Amazon has these gallon water bottles, and you're supposed to drink 0.67 times your desired body weight in ounces of water a day. Okay. So if you weigh 140 pounds, I think it's roughly 90 ounces or something. So anyway, Amazon sells these bottles that have the time on them, and then they give you like a little encouraging, affirmation, like keep going, you're almost there. And then that way, you get all your water in, because drinking a lot of water in the morning, especially, like I suggest at least 16 ounces. Dr. Bruce, who used to work for me, the sleep doctor, you guys see him probably a lot on TV, he would say 32 ounces. Drink it as soon as you can in the morning, because it just helps flush things, kind of fills up your tummy so you're not starving. And then again, some people would say breakfast is the most important meal. Whatever you do, what works for you. I used to be I have to have breakfast because I need protein. But when we started this intermittent fasting with our patients, I tried it because my husband wanted to do it. He needed to lose 10 pounds, and he's kind of my cook, so I had to do what he was doing. And so I spent my mornings getting outside, hiking, because I was kind of locked in since March, and just enjoying the light in the world. And it's amazing what it does to help set that biological clock, your circadian rhythm, so that by the time the sun starts going down, you do feel tired and you can sleep. If you're struggling with feeling tired in the evenings, it's probably because you need to do some more things during the day to help get out some of that anxiety and worry, and those would involve eating as healthy as possible, drinking all the water, exercise at least 30 minutes a day. Do something, even if it's walk up the street and back every single day. We need to move our body. All right, questions.
All right, thank you. We have, let's see, it's from Lori Marsh. Is the melatonin to help go to sleep or to stay asleep?
Both, but you need to take it earlier in the evening, so that, melatonin, the natural melatonin that our bodies create is what helps us fall asleep and stay asleep. So adding a supplemental melatonin will just only enhance that.
Yeah, when you mentioned that, I actually just popped up a little note here from John Hopkins, and yeah, it is interesting. I didn't realize the impact of that. So that's a great tip. And I think everyone takes, I don't know, sometimes I think everyone takes sleep for granted, right? Like it's like, oh, time to go to bed, and away you go, and you lay down and you wake up and you're in your mind, you think, well, what do I got to do tomorrow? But I agree with a lot what you're saying here. I think it just makes really good sense. And, it's not just a point in time of our day. It's really a point in time for our body to recover and to recoup. And, the little things, you mentioned, I didn't realize, how much the fluctuation in your blood pressure. And if that doesn't come down, that percent, how it cycles up. And, I couldn't agree with you more on water. And it's interesting, growing up in the Northeast, we really didn't drink a lot of water. And now coming out here, I personally drink a lot of water, make that effort to do that. But it's fascinating talking to people that when you live in such a desert climate that people just don't drink a lot of water. And the interesting piece there is people say, the more water you drink, the more times you have to go to the bathroom. But I think as you train your body to do that, right, it just becomes very natural, right? And I couldn't agree with you more on that. So let's take a look here. I think there's some other questions coming in here. Another one from Lori Marsh. Is the surgical implant similar to what I see advertised on the TV these days, or how does it work?
Yeah, exactly. Inspire. So again, this is my remote. I'm going to be live on Facebook and Instagram tonight. Feel free to I'm Lori Lynn, LauriLynn on Instagram. And then on Facebook, it's Laurie Ledley. So I'm talking with the doctor from Seattle who wants to learn more about Inspire. But basically, it's a pacemaker-like device implanted in the chest. Because of my breast cancer situation, I have mine kind of under my armpit. But basically, it has a lead wire. And I also talk about this every Wednesdays. I have a community health talk that you can sign up free online on valleysleepcenter.com. But it's a wire that syncs with your breath when you fall asleep, and then stimulates. It's hooked onto the hypoglossal nerve. And so it stimulates the back of your airway, your soft palate and tongue, kind of moving it out of the way. There are some indications, like you need to have moderate to severe sleep apnea. You cannot be significantly overweight, but, again, we'll help you with that. And you need to pass what they call a DICE. So ear, nose, throat will take you and put you under, and just make sure that your collapse isn't coming from the sides, that it's front to back. A lot of times you'll see men with like huge necks, right? Those guys sometimes have concentric collapse. So they're not candidates for Inspire. But there's a lot of options out there. I think someone asked, tell me a little bit about your company and what you do. So Valley Sleep Center, we have 6 locations in the Valley: Mesa, Chandler, Phoenix, Scottsdale, Goodyear, Glendale. And then we're opening one in Tucson. So we have a team of physicians who are board certified in sleep. We also have a team of nurse practitioners. And so we have clinic all day, every day, where anybody can come. You don't have to be referred by your doctor, but we do get most of our referrals from physicians throughout the Valley. And you come in, you meet with them. You could do telemedicine, and we kind of do a history. We get it approved by your insurance. This is all covered by insurance or HSA. We also have cash packages for people who don't have insurance. And our cash packages are at valleysleepcenter.com. And basically, we do that assessment. We order a study. If we think you have a high probable risk for sleep apnea, we'll probably just order a home sleep test. We actually have disposable home sleep tests now. We just mail them to your house. So we have a package where for $500, you get a virtual appointment with a sleep doctor, a home sleep test mailed to you as long as you have a smartphone, and then a follow-up for $500 cash. I'm about to do a special on that because at the beginning of the pandemic, I bought too many what we call watch pats, which are the disposable tests, and they only have so many. There's a battery, and I need to use them before the batteries expire. So I haven't figured that out yet, but I'm probably gonna be running a special for that. So if you're interested in that, please reach out. By the way, valleysleepcenter.com, ask a sleep coach. That comes directly to me. So there's a box. That's the first thing that pops up. It comes to my email. I usually answer those within an hour. So if you guys have any questions that you think of throughout the day, please feel free. Or if you're like, hey, I'm interested in that deal, what are you going to do? Send me a message. So the sleep center used to be like we watched people through a window at the hospital, and it was so intrusive. And everyone shared a bathroom. You had to walk down this bright hallway, if you had to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. So I kind of envisioned, wouldn't it be neat if there was like a private bedroom with their own bathroom, a shower where you could get ready for work the next morning, TVs on the wall, which don't watch TV when you're falling asleep, but some people, we have to do it. So that's the only way they'll fall asleep. But, and then we would hook you up for, you'd have your own private room, your own sleep tech, and then we hook you up. We run all the channels. So the difference between a home sleep test and an in the lab study, huge. Okay. Really important to know what we do at home only gives us like 3 things: oximetry, breathing, snoring, and maybe heart rate, right? So 4 things. On the PSG, the overnight sleep study, we get detailed information about your brain, EEG, and what's happening all night with your brain. You get a full tracing of your cardiac. So we see your EKG all night. If you have any cardiac, anything, we'll pick it up. We have muscle tone. We measure limb movement so we can determine all sleep disorders on a PSG: breath, snoring. We can measure the tone of your snoring, where the home sleep test, it just kind of is, it tells us the vibration level. So very scored very differently. Diagnoses are very, very different. I tell people, don't be afraid to get a sleep study. If anybody needs one, and they're afraid to come in because of COVID, you should be more afraid of what untreated sleep apnea is doing to your body. It is not a benign illness. It kills people. I did not close down when everybody closed down because it's essential, and we were diagnosing sleep apnea, treating it, preventing heart attacks and strokes. Okay. So I'm sure all of you know somebody who's probably had a heart attack or a stroke. They probably have sleep apnea. And everyone's like, well, I have a high deductible. I can't afford it. And this is my comment. Can you afford an ICU visit where no one's going to be able to visit you now? I mean, until you're going to die. I mean, this is very serious. And I don't want to be here to scare anybody, but I myself had to scare myself into getting it treated. So I've walked the path. I know the journey, and I want to be here to hold your hand through it.
Great. We have one more question here, just about melatonin. If you take it, does it, as a supplement, does it affect the amount in your body? What's the impact on that?
I don't really know if I know the answer. Again, your body will create melatonin naturally, and anytime you supplement that, it should just increase it more, or just help your body know when to create the hormone. I wish I knew more. I'm not an endocrinologist. I wanted to say also that my sister company, Valley Sleep Therapy, provides all the CPAP and supplies. So we're kind of like one-stop shop. If you wanted an oral appliance, we could refer you to a dentist for that. And we manage all that for you. If you decide you don't do well on CPAP and you want to get something like Inspire, we'll follow up with you to make sure you get to ENT, and we'll activate you, and we'll follow you as you're using your device, getting used to it. We also have insomnia therapy. So we have cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. And you guys might remember Pat McMahon. So his wife, Shirley Duffy, we call her Duffy. Duffy McMahon is our behavioral sleep medicine specialist. She's awesome. So if any of you are struggling to fall asleep, stay asleep, anxiety, depression, she's amazing. And her and I are launching the whole sleep and sex campaign. There's you're going to see a lot more of that in the media because sex is something we all need, and it actually helps us sleep. So you'll hear more about that from us in the future. And I'm finally talking about it. I'm so tired of all this being in the closet. Like, this is human basic essential needs. So maybe we can have me on for that later.
Maybe. I think this is good stuff, right? And you learn different things. I really appreciate your time, and on behalf of our group here, to have you come on and talk about this. And certainly there's just some people that want to learn some more about you. And I think you said you can visit, your website or contact you. So I would encourage people to reach out, but it's certainly informative, and really appreciate you spending time this morning with us today.
Did we get everybody's questions answered? And I want to ask you, Glenn, are you related to Paul?
I am not related to Paul. No.
Sylvia? I went to high school with them.
Yeah, it's interesting. Is it exactly ZYK? Because there's a lot of ZAKs, so I don't find a lot of ZYKs out here.
Yeah, and my husband is Glenn, and he spells it the same way as you.
Oh, there we go. So
when you're like, Glenn, Glenn's coming on, I was like, Glenn's coming on? Oh yeah.
All right. I don't see anything else here in the queue for you. Unless Sally, any closing comments from your perspective? No.
No,
all
I
right. Well, thank you.
More about that. Thank you very much.
All right. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Sleep well, everyone.
Appreciate your time. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right. Very good. Thanks, everybody. I hope that was very informative. And Sally, looking at the list, do we have anybody on from Senator Sinema's office or yet from Senator Kelly's office? Shaking your head. All right. Excited. What do we? Who do we got on there, Sally?
There's Michelle. I know I saw her. There she is.
Hello, good morning. We're still working with Kelly's office. They haven't quite staffed up fully yet, so we don't have a person for this meeting quite yet for Senator Kelly's office. But I can give an overall update. We're doing a lot of work around vaccines. As I'm sure you all know, the rollout has been pretty disastrous. There's never enough appointments. We don't have enough vaccines. The system itself to register, I don't know if any of you guys have tried using it to help loved ones. I tried to get my grandma signed up for a vaccine. It took me about 4 hours to get it done. And that was after she tried herself, but it requires 3 different confirmations to create an account, which for people 75 and older, that's a lot of going back and forth from the internet to their email to confirm things. So it's been a disaster. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of control over that system. But Governor Ducey and Dr. Chris did submit a request to HHS for an emergency infusion of 300 vaccines and an additional, 300,000 vaccines and an additional 300,000 on top of our allotment every week. We haven't been granted that request yet, but the senator did submit a letter to HHS in support of that proposal and asking them to grant that. We sent that over at the end of January, I think the 26th. So we are actively trying to get more vaccines to Arizona. So at least maybe that will make the system easier if there are more appointments available. Again, I took my grandma to get the vaccine. It's actually a very quick process. If you guys haven't been through it, that system is very efficient. When you show up at the Cardinal Stadium, it's quick. I feel like we were in and out in 30 minutes. I see the question, the providing vaccines for homebound. We are actually trying to work with the Area Agency on Aging and AARP to develop a program to deliver remotely vaccines, but also we're hearing a lot of seniors who don't have a way to get to vaccine centers. They're not mobile in that they can get to places, especially a lot of the appointments that are available are in the middle of the night. So we are trying to work to pull resources from the community to do driving, take seniors to get vaccines safely. Obviously, that's a big barrier. So hopefully I'll have more on those types of partnerships in the future. As far as what's going on in Congress, there have been lots of confirmation votes that I'm sure you guys are all hearing about in the news. The Senate did pass a budget resolution on Tuesday, which is then followed by 50 hours of debate and amendments. So we should be having what is called Votapalooza today, starting at 2:30 DC time, 12:30 our time. I've been told that there are already over 300 amendments that have been proposed. So it's going to be a very long day with lots of votes on lots of amendments, some of which will be relevant and some of which I'm sure will not be relevant. But we should start seeing some some passage of continued benefits, extension of UI, those types of things. Details are still being worked out on stimulus payments. There's a lot of going back and forth to it being $1,400, which President Biden is saying, to $2,000, which some House Democrats and Senate Democrats are in favor of. So it should be a busy day. Lots of, if you guys are on Twitter, I'm sure there will be tons of updates all day about what's passed and what's not and who voted how and all of that good stuff.
We have a question from
Question?
Dave.
Me? Oh. Michelle, is that Votapalooza thing? Is that with the reconciliation? Is that related to doing the reconciliation process?
Yes. Because the budget resolution was passed, it allows the Senate to pass things on what's called budget reconciliation votes, which requires a simple majority rather than 60 votes for typical legislation. So yes, all the Votapalooza will be directly because of the budget resolution and the reconciliation process.
I have a suggestion for Senator Sinema.
Sure.
Tell her Republican colleagues it's not a stimulus payment, it's a tax cut. My money
That
anyway.
Definitely reframing the issue.
My money anyway, you just give it back.
I will definitely pass that along. That's a good way to frame it, to get that bipartisan support. But we'll see how it goes. It's going to be a busy day. Like I said, tons of votes. Obviously, I'm sure everyone's aware the Votapalooza is happening today and should take care of most of the COVID stuff. The reason that it was done this way is because the impeachment trial starts next week. We're still not sure how that will play out and how long that will be and what the schedule will be like. I know President Biden has said that he would like it to be like a half day of impeachment trials and then a half day of normal legislative processing so that the work of the people can still continue while this is happening. But we'll see what that schedule looks like when it's released. And that is my congressional update, if anyone has questions.
No, I got one more thing for you.
Sure.
Is the $15 minimum wage still working itself in that reconciliation bill? And are there any exemptions in there? That's going to have a huge impact on nonprofits and folks that pay, like there's certain caregivers and everything now. Is it just $15 minimum wage across the board for everybody? Can you talk a little bit to that?
Unfortunately, I'm not sure yet because, like I said, there are the 300 different amendments. So a $15 minimum wage was part of President Biden's package. But after the 300 amendments, that could look totally different. It could involve phase-in over 5 or 10 years. Like Arizona, when we passed the $15 minimum wage here, it's phased in. So right now it's only at, I think, $12 an hour. $13 an hour. It raises each year. So unfortunately, because the Senate is actually following the process of having open and honest discussions and allowing everybody to offer amendments, we don't know what it'll look like by the end, or if it will even be a thing.
In the Biden, do you know any details in the Biden proposal, if there was anything like restaurant workers or nonprofits or any of those kinds of things, or if it was just straight up?
I do not know. I know that he already did the executive order for all federal employees and contractors to $15 an hour. But as far as the proposal in his for the $15 an hour overall, I think it's very open to interpretation.
Thank
you. Any other questions?
All right.
Great.
Great job, Michelle, as always, having you on, and hopefully Votapalooza leads to more vaccines so we can get back to Lollapalooza and Coachella and all the paloozas that we really like having fun at. So thank you for the great work both Senator Sinema and Senator Kelly are doing, continuing through these challenging times, and always great to have you on for the updates here. So thank you. Sally, do we want to just get, since we're just kind of doing some general updates, maybe kind of work around and get an update here from the Food Bank, United Way, and others just on what's going on in the community?
I think that sounds good. Mark, you had your hand up. Do you want to give us an update?
Sure. Things are going as well as they can be in these times. I had raised my hand to push this idea again about vaccines for shut-ins. I've been talking about it for a couple of weeks. have applied at AZDHS for us to try to figure out how we can do that. I don't know that that the need for that can be understated, and I don't know who's working on it. So, you know, if we wait for the government to get around to doing that, we won't be in COVID anymore. So I'm wondering if there are some private sector people in the health field that are thinking about what that could look like. It feels relatively simple to me to have a nurse and a doctor in a van, and you just make appointments and you go to people's homes. But maybe I'm missing something, which it wouldn't be the first time that I've missed something. So,
Hey, I know this is probably not the discussion point, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. Do you think that's something we could do with like Meals on Wheels? I mean, they're already taking food to shut-ins. So that might be a good.
I'm not sure why somebody hasn't thought about it. I mean, we've received probably a half dozen calls asking, and it is impossible to get someone in the middle of the night to State Farm Stadium, and oftentimes they really can't be out and driving and shouldn't be. I mean, they shouldn't be in a car with somebody they don't know for 2 hours while they're going to the stadium. So it feels like a no-brainer to me, but like I said, I'm missing something, I think. Maybe it's just there's not enough personnel to make it happen. I don't know.
Does it have something to do with how the vaccine has to be stored so especially the cold temp?
I mean, I know that's a problem, but you know, if you made appointments and you knew you had 10 during the day, you take 10 vaccines, you go to those people's houses. I think you'd actually have a better percentage rate of getting shots in arms than you do when people make appointments and cancel them, but you've thawed out a shot. So, you know, if you're going to someone's house to give it, I would think they would be there. And so, you know, that may be a bit of a stumbling block. But I think those things, after they're thawed, there's a 6-hour window to get them in somebody's arm.
Oh, okay.
I do know there's a huge issue statewide with a shortage of people who can give the vaccine. We've been trying to coordinate volunteers to get to the vaccination sites as well, because we just we haven't had enough nurses and
Right.
doctors before the pandemic, much less during the pandemic. There's not a lot of people to actually give the vaccines. So we do have a lot of National Guardsmen out giving vaccines. And then I know there's been, sorry, the puppy wants to play. There's been a lot of talk about FEMA being involved in getting people here. That was also part of the request from the senator, was to get more people here who can give vaccines. Because AZDHS, I don't know if you guys are aware of the Dignity Health Pod in Chandler, they've all been saying they just don't have enough people to give vaccines. So even if they have the vaccine allotment, rural Arizona, this is a huge problem too. They just don't have people to give them.
We need to tap into retired veterinarians. That's mostly a joke. Outside of that, you're not always doing fine. So, bye.
All right.
Good to hear.
Dave, you have any updates from the food bank?
Yeah, sure. The good news is our numbers are dropping pretty consistently of people who visit our Friday distributions at the Mesa Convention Center. Right now we're under contract with the Convention Center to be there through the end of February and are negotiating through the end of March. They have really no events there other than the stuff that the city's doing, you know, some vaccine shots they're doing at that location, some COVID testing. I think they did a student loan event there. But all the other private stuff is canceling. So it's great to have access to that facility to be able to do volunteer events and the food distributions. Probably the bad news is you know, we're in a situation where our volunteer center over at Javelina, the county, we're right in the county complex there. The county demolished the parking lot we typically use when we were doing the walk-in food distribution over there. So we cannot go back to our original location to do food distributions. And so we're in a situation that we're not sure what it looks like after February or March for us, you know. So the good news side of that is we have a lot of capable agency partners that are very good at distributing food. This was just a distribution we did on Friday, and we were able to scale up for the pandemic. And so, there might be some changes to what we do in the future as far as that. But we've had an incredible amount of support. We've had all the resources we need. If you have people that need food, we have food available. In fact, I think I probably have more food right now than I have people who need it. And so we're kind of bursting at the gills. So, refer your folks over to Friday, have them come through the line and get the food. Michelle, there's always lots of talks about the CFAP program, which is basically the farmers' food boxes. It was the effort to rescue the supply chain. And we've been getting a tremendous amount of food just kind of dumped into Arizona. It doesn't go through food banks all the time. It goes to a lot of different organizations. And while it's been very helpful, it wouldn't surprise me if that program started to wind down, and it's probably not a bad idea for it to wind down, because that food's going to need to get repurposed into the supply chain for school lunches and restaurant use and hotels and all that kind of stuff. So if Senator Sinema has any questions about that, I'd love to have a chat with her about how that program worked, or whoever your staffer is over that. But outside of that, yeah, we have lots of food. We can help whoever you need. Just let us know.
Sherry, maybe you or Sharon want to give some updates?
Good morning, everybody. Do you want Oakwood updates or Dementia Friends updates?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're next up on the agenda, so that was a great segue there, Sally. So take it away, Sherry.
Well, let's unmute Karen too, because she's really the one that does all the hard work. I just, I'm along for the ride. But we did have a great meeting. We are kind of pushing forward on trying to figure out how to create a business kind of designation, Dementia Friends designation. And so what to me seemed like would be something we could just put together is a little bit more complicated than that. Karen, do you want to give an update?
Sure. First of all, I'm compelled to ask Sally about the Phoenix Heart Walk, but only because I'm staring at that the whole time. So tell us about that.
Well, I can tell you really quickly that the Heart Association is a chamber member, and we have a team for the Heart Walk. So if anybody's interested, let me know. I'll get you the information. You can join our team. But it's time that we all take better care of our hearts. Listening to the whole sleep talk, that's all part of it, right? So.
Thank you. I just had a dear friend that had a heart attack unexpectedly, so I appreciate that. Well, getting back to what Sherry said, we're looking at other cities in the country have done a business program, and I did get questions when we did the Dementia Friends training from businesses that wanted to become dementia friendly. And as the national representative Meredith pointed out, Dementia Friends is an individual interactive program. And then Dementia Friends community involves everybody in the community. So when we look at businesses, some of the obstacles are, keeping the employees trained, retraining. How do we, the liability in a business saying that we are dementia friendly, and then something happens at that business, and then there's issues that may come back to us, even at the chamber or statewide. So we're working with Dementia Friends Arizona, as well as Dementia Friends America. And we're going to have a Zoom meeting with some of the other cities around the country that have put business initiatives in place to see what issues they had, so we don't repeat the same mistakes. Basically what it came down to was we would probably require a dementia champion at every business, and then at least 50% of the employees trained, retraining, decal program, or whatever incentive we can give the businesses to say, we are a dementia friendly business. But the wording, I think we're looking at just this business partners with Dementia Friends Mesa, so that there's there's less liability, just to say for you know, whatever business you have, whether it's Fellowship Square, say, because I see that in your background there, we partner with Dementia Friends Mesa. Not that we're authorized or licensed or certified by Mesa or any of that, but we're partnering with the Dementia Friends Mesa initiative. And that's kind of where we left it. So we're in, like Sherry said, we're kind of in the beginning phase of what we want it to look like, who's going to house the numbers, and just try to make it as simple as possible. So
I will say, after having that conversation with the national office, I think what makes Mesa unique is that this committee is kind of housed in partnership with the chamber, and that's not typical. And so I think we can bring a really dynamic an innovative roadmap, really not just for the state, but for the country as well. So the Dementia Friends Arizona is really watching what we're doing in Mesa, because nobody else has done this yet. So so more to come with that. And I would say we have a lot more business engagement than all the other cities in Arizona because of that. And thank you to Karen for doing a lot of the training. She's been phenomenal. So that's really where our effort is at this point, is cracking that nut and getting that figured out. And then we will keep you updated as to where that goes at our next meeting.
Glenn, we can't hear you.
How about that? There we go. Sorry about that. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Karen, for that update. Always appreciate the ongoing efforts there, and certainly, you know, blazing the pathway on this here for Mesa. So glad that others are watching. So, and
Michelle has a question or comment.
Yeah. Gotcha.
I just have a little clarification on the $15 an hour part of the minimum wage. With budget reconciliation, technically that you have to prove that it's a way that it's linked to the government's budget being affected in order to be able to pass something under budget reconciliation. So it's still murky on whether that part of the legislation could even pass under budget reconciliation, meaning it doesn't affect the bottom line of any government programs, or it's hard to construe it as such. There is some talk about maybe it being an impact on welfare and food stamps, which would directly affect the bottom line. So it's hard to say if it will even be included in budget reconciliation. It might have to go through a normal legislative process requiring 60 votes. So that's another reason it's still murky around that $15 an hour. It's hard to link it directly to the budget.
Thanks, Michelle. Appreciate that update. Everything's kind of murky at times, but it'll be interesting to see how some of this stuff sorts out, and we'll look forward to those updates. And certainly, if there's anything that comes up to share, we can get it out to the group via email. So certainly a lot of interest around a lot of topics and business going on in Washington. So terrific. All right. Kind of looking here for the closeout of our agenda here today, we did get 4 other additional suggestions for some guest speakers. So we're going to continue to weave those in through our meeting. So we'll work here next agenda to kind of get that outline. And then I would ask, and Sherry and I would ask really on goals for the committee this upcoming year, if we could continue to get some ideas and thoughts on things we want to accomplish. Although, again, still virtual for the time being, I think there's a sense of hope we can get back together in some limited capacity to work together on some of these initiatives. So if you have other ideas, thoughts, that would be very helpful to us as we kind of frame up the agenda for the next meeting on March 4th with the group here. And let's see, Lori has something here. Lori, do you want to go ahead with that question here?
I am running the vaccine clinic over at the summit. And one of the things that we need to do is get a copy of the Medicare card. And I'm just curious, on the back of a Medicare card is a QR code. Does anybody know if that's different? If they are different QR codes? Like, is there something significant on the back of a Medicare card that I need a copy of? Or is it in the same back of the card that everybody has?
I don't have an answer to that. I don't know if anyone else on our group does.
Anyone? Yes. We are, and the question came to me is that we are doing the vaccine clinic for our residents and our staff. And it's the 12th, February 12th.
I don't know how accurate this answer is, but I just did a quick search about the QR code on the back of the Medicare card, and it looks like it's for the contractor who prints the Medicare cards to make sure that they're linking the right card to the right person.
Look at you. You are good. You are good at what you do.
For us to have you, Michelle. Seriously.
See, that's Google for us.
That's Michelle.
Our leading
I wouldn't
knowledge
know how
base.
to Google it right. I wouldn't know. I obviously didn't know how to Google it right.
That's what social work school teaches you, is the Google machine.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. All right. With that, anything else here for the good of the order as we come up on the top of the hour?
I have a quick question. When we first started this committee over a year ago, we formed subcommittees that we haven't heard of or even talked about since then. Did that just fade away, or are we going to revive any subcommittees that we did?
Todd, that is a great question. And I would say because of the pandemic and the inability for us to get together, I think those kind of just got shelved. But I think for our 2021 goals here, Sally and Sherry, let's get that on the agenda for the next meeting and kind of talk about that so we can get some of those subcommittees back together. I think that's a good point, Todd. Thank you for drawing attention to that. All right. Any other agenda items or thoughts? You can always email those in to Sally and she'll get it out and we'll get it coordinated. But with that, one last call for open items.
Just want to say, Tracy asked me about volunteers. We do always need volunteers. In fact, our volunteers have dropped pretty dramatically here in January. Our volunteer warehouse needs morning shifts mostly. And then we always need help at our Friday distributions. And so we would welcome any of your groups that might want to volunteer.
Great. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate that. And maybe, Sally, we can get that out to you on some type of chamber email as well, potentially, to get people to volunteer and help out delivering food. So good stuff. Sherry, anything else to close out? All right.
Great call.
Well, thanks everybody for, go ahead, Sally, sorry.
No, just saying great call. Thank you all. Thank you, Glenn. Good to see everyone. Stay well.
Same here, great. Stay safe, everybody. Appreciate your time, and we'll look forward to next month. Thank you.
Thank you.